Yesterday, a jury convicted 2 men in the plot to kidnap and possibly even kill Democratic Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. The 2 men are Adam Fox and Barry Croft, and they now face a maximum of life in prison, not just for the plot, but also a second conviction of plotting to use weapons of mass destruction, because not only were they planning on kidnapping the governor from her summer vacation home, but they had also been practicing with explosives. So I'm not sure exactly what they were going to do with the explosives, but if they were going to kidnap the governor, possibly kill her, and they had explosives, maybe they were going to blow her up. I don't know. Either way, the 2 men were found guilty. The sentencing will come later on down the line. But what's really important about this case is that this was actually the second time it went to trial. The first time resulted in a hung jury, so the judge declared a mistrial. And the reason they got a hung jury was because of the actual details of this case, which honestly are quite interesting. See, the defense in that first trial, and they attempted it in the second trial, but did not do a good job of it, claimed that the FBI had basically set up a sting of entrapment. The FBI actually had an informant in the extremist group with Croft and Fox, and they claimed, the defense did, that this informant, who was called Big Dan, they said Big Dan came in here and he actually convinced them to do this, right? They were just chit-chatting about it, you know, like a bunch of guys drinking and saying, hey, we should kidnap this woman. Yeah, right, we should do that. But Big Dan is the one who said, yeah, let's do it. Let's come up with a plan. And so the defense lawyers in that first trial had, to some degree of success, argued that the FBI pushed these men to do that. The second trial, however, the prosecutors got a little more crafty, so they decided to go through and pull all the social media posts from these men from long before Big Dan entered the fold, and showed that they had been plotting extremist activity, extremist behavior, possible attacks for a very long time before the FBI embedded their man with the group. In fact, that's why the FBI embedded their man with the group, to find out what these extremists were up to. So the jury agreed with the prosecution. The 2 men, like I said, possibly life in prison. But the big important takeaway from this is why it all happened in the first place, right? You already had these people who clearly were sharing extremist views and they hated the government. But it was when they put the COVID restrictions in place that these men lost their damn minds and decided to kidnap the governor of the state of Michigan for the crime of trying to keep people from dying. That's what Gretchen Whitmer did. That was her big problem, right? That's where she crossed the line for these extremists. How dare you not want us to die from a virus that at the time there was no vaccination for and there was really no treatment for whatsoever. That's it. If you got it, best of luck. We can stick you on a ventilator and hope your body fights it off, but other than that, at the time, we couldn't do much. We didn't have the Paxlovid pills. We didn't have the vaccines. We had no way of fighting this thing. And so, yeah, we had COVID restrictions. We had mask mandates. We had social distancing guidelines. Some places shut down. And these men were so furious that I guess, we can't go get a beer at Chili's after work, so why don't we just kidnap the damn governor? They're going to get what they deserve. And hopefully, that's a life sentence in prison.
This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know why you have not subscribed to our channel. You obviously like our videos, so do us a favor and subscribe.